This story doesn't begin with a scream or a chase. It begins with a house that looks normal, a neighborhood that feels safe, and a person everyone trusted. On a quiet morning in September 1981, a single open window revealed a truth so horrifying it would take nearly 40 years to fully uncover. A young mother was murdered in her own home, her children just steps away, and the man responsible continued living an ordinary life, hiding in plain sight. This is not just a story about a crime, it is a story about betrayal, about how violence can wear a familiar face, and about how time can bury the truth but never erase it. Tonight, you're about to hear one of the most disturbing cases ever recorded, because the killer was never a stranger. It always starts with something small enough to ignore. A quiet house, an open window, a familiar presence that feels safe. That is how betrayal works. It never announces itself as danger. The most disturbing truth in this case is not only the violence, but who committed it. Trust gave access, familiarity removed fear, and routine created opportunity. The person who helped, who coached, who was welcomed into daily life, used intimacy as a weapon. When harm comes from someone known, the mind struggles to accept it because our brains are wired to believe closeness equals safety. This is why betrayal cuts deeper than violence by a stranger. It rewrites memory, poisons trust, and turns ordinary places into lifelong reminders of loss. And then comes the long silence. Decades without answers do not pause grief, they stretch it. For children, unresolved trauma becomes part of their identity, shaping how they love, how they trust, how they see the world. Every birthday, every milestone happens alongside a question that never rests. Time does not heal what is never acknowledged. It only teaches people how to live around the wound. Finally, justice arrives, not as relief, but as confrontation. Science reaches into the past and pulls the truth forward, proving that time cannot erase accountability. Closure is never clean. It is complicated and heavy, but it matters, because justice, even delayed, restores one essential truth. The story belongs to the victim, not the person who tried to hide behind time, trust, and silence. Time does not move in a straight line for those left behind. It circles, it revisits, it interrupts ordinary moments without warning. For families living with unanswered violence, the past is not over, it is present. Silence becomes its own form of cruelty, because every unanswered question keeps the nervous system on alert. Children grow up learning how to function without certainty, how to celebrate while carrying grief, how to form identities around absence. The world keeps moving, but inside, everything remains suspended at the moment of loss. This is what unresolved trauma does. It doesn't scream, it whispers endlessly, shaping adulthood through childhood pain, teaching people how to survive rather than how to feel safe. Justice that arrives late does not arrive gently. It enters the room like an old truth that refuses to be polite. We imagine closure as relief, as peace, as the soft landing after a long fall, but that is a fantasy. What finally comes is confrontation. Confrontation with time lost, with childhood lived in survival mode, with a future shaped by something that should never have happened. When science reaches back decades and names what silence protected, it doesn't erase the pain, it reorganizes it. Justice does not give back the mother, the years, or the innocence. What it does is restore moral order. It says, this happened, it mattered, and it was wrong. And that matters more than we like to admit. because without accountability, violence becomes a ghost story, something vague and haunting but unresolved. Accountability gives shape to grief. It places responsibility where it belongs. It removes the burden from the victims of having to carry doubt alongside pain. Yet even then, justice is complicated. The person exposed is no longer a monster from imagination, but a human being who lived freely while others lived with loss. That contrast is unbearable and necessary at the same time. It forces us to accept a hard truth. Evil often hides in normality, and time does not weaken truth, it only waits for the tools to reveal it. Justice delayed is not justice denied when it finally speaks, but it is justice that demands courage from those who must hear it. Courage to face the reality that healing is not forgetting, forgiveness is not required, and moving forward does not mean leaving the past behind. It means carrying the truth openly, without shame, and refusing to let silence be the final chapter.
If you're still here watching, thank you. Before you go, please subscribe to our channel, Dark Frame Stories, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another real-life mystery like this.